What's going on, people? This is Ranger with WBC TV. With me once again, Dontae562. What's going on, my man?
What's going on, Ranger? Good to hear. Good to be talking to you again, man. Good to be
Same
talking.
here, same here. Well, let's go on and have a little boxing conversation here for our viewers, your viewers and my viewers. Let's go ahead and share our thoughts, whether they agree or not. And let's go ahead and open this conversation with one of the most hated men in the sport of boxing, Floyd Mayweather Jr. What's up with what you got to say about his chances between him and Canelo?
Well, first of all, building up to that, I got to say last year was an extraordinary year of boxing. I think, in the history of the sport, it was one of the best years. And it seems like 2013 is starting to continue right where 2012 left off.
Oh,
with
yeah.
With this news that I just heard about, with Canelo now agreeing to possibly fight Trout just to get a guarantee against Floyd Mayweather, man, oh man. I'm just hoping, before we even talk about Floyd Mayweather and Canelo, I'm just hoping that Canelo doesn't try to pull some bullshit and try to avoid this Trout fight and go with something like Angulo, because if he does that, just like I know, he don't deserve to go straight to the Super Bowl if he don't go to the playoffs and fight Trout first.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. Let me put my 2 cents in this. It wouldn't surprise me if he tries. Here's why. When you talk Austin Trout, and I've never given Austin Trout the credit he actually deserves, mainly because for some reason before the Cotto fight, I was never really into Austin Trout. Sometimes it takes that very special fight to get you interested on a certain fighter. And that Cotto fight was that fight that kind of had me like, well, wait a minute. Maybe I've been making a mistake with Austin Trout. Let me see this dude a little more into detail. Canelo ain't putting through this. He's not going to beat Austin Trout. First of all, you're talking about a guy that don't need the power to beat you. He's got the technique, the size, the speed. And all he's got to do is go out there and put on a show. Now, the big question is, at the end of the 12-round bout, who will the decision go to? That's where our question should be.
No, you're absolutely right. But, that's the same thing I thought with the Cotto Trout fight. And that's the reason why I kept telling people that I was leaning towards Cotto. Because everybody and their mama, they basically wanted Cotto to win that fight so that they could set up a Cotto-Canelo fight. So I figured that, Trout would have to go in there and he would have to damn near win 11 rounds to 1 just to probably get a split decision, Because I was sitting there right when the fight was over, I was sitting there saying, I know that they're going to end up giving this fight to Cotto. I was very surprised. So me personally, I feel that there's a chance that if Trout doesn't get knocked down a couple times, and I remember Trout said that he believes that Canelo is easier to hit than Cotto is.
Oof.
And you can see it, right?
Yeah,
you can see it.
That's there.
The only thing Trout has to really worry about is getting caught with a lucky shot. He got a sick jab. He's a southpaw, and Canelo never fought a southpaw with a jab, a natural 154-pounder. And did you see the way Trout was playing with Cotto on the ropes? Like, you would think that when Trout was on the ropes, that Cotto had him. But, what's his name, Trout, he would gracefully, throw his little combinations. He would tie him up real quick. He was doing it like he was real graceful with it. So, yeah, you're right. It's hard to believe that Canelo would take a Trout fight like that before he tries to land a Mayweather fight.
And, I'm not going to be ignorant here. I'm not sitting here and saying that Canelo does not have a chance. Obviously, every fighter's got a chance to win whatever fight. Because at the end of the day, although I think Trout is better than Canelo, technically sound, Canelo is not a dumb fighter either. He's not a chump. He is where he is, other than having a little bit of help because of being a rugged, tough kid. Considering his age, okay, we have to consider his age, the fact that he's still a kid. Considering his age, And considering the fact that he still has so much room to learn in the sport of boxing, yes, he's a serious contender. However, when you take it and put it next to Austin Trout having an extensive amateur career, coming in as a pro, and although not being the knockout artist that people would love for him to be, he's still given us, me personally, I've always been criticized because of this. I don't mind sitting and watching 12 rounds of a fight. I actually think that boxing is not all about knockouts. And that's where
it's an art, it's science.
It's science, you know what I mean? And yes, people criticize me, but because I say those things, but I realize those are people that don't know boxing. They know knockouts, and that's it. But I don't think Canelo has a... Let me put it to you this way. If Canelo wants a shot at Mayweather, the last person he should get in there with should be Trout. Otherwise, we're going to have an upset, and that fight will never happen between Canelo and Austin Trout.
And Mayweather.
I mean, exactly, and Mayweather. So, with that being said, I think Canelo should stay away as far as he can from the guy that really destroyed his brother, which is Austin Trout.
Absolutely. But to answer your question, Ranger, because I didn't really answer your question originally, if we do get Mayweather-Canelo, this is how I look at that fight, man. First of all, it's more far than obvious that Mayweather has way more talent. He has way more skills. He's better in every way. The only chance that Canelo has, which it does give him a chance, is that natural size that he has. Him being the hardest puncher, and I've said in probably like the whole sport, top 3. You know, and realistically, I wonder if I'm oversaying that because he's only been fighting smaller fighters. So we'll really know how good that power is when he finally fights a natural 154-pounder. But nevertheless, I look at that fight with him being naturally bigger as basically like Trout. I mean, it's basically like Canelo and telling Floyd Mayweather, I'll race you as long as you give me a 1-second head start. You know, and that's kind of how I'm looking at it. You know, Canelo, he got that 1-second head start, but I still think he gonna end up losing the race.
Definitely.
I mean, when you betting power versus skill, 80% of the time skill it will win. You know. That's how I see it.
Let me tell you one thing. I couldn't agree with you more because that's actually the way I was looking at that fight. I was thinking to myself, you know, there could be a chance that Mayweather, being an older fighter, being more of a walk-down fighter now instead of a moving fighter like he used to be, being more of a little toe-to-toe action fighter, which is not the Mayweather we used to see, maybe because of the age. That's the style he's adopted to conserve energy during the fight. Under those circumstances, I can clearly see Canelo possibly getting a good shot in there. And let's admit it, like you said, he's a top puncher, and the kid is naturally huge. He's a big guy. I mean, you look at Canelo, and he's not the thin, shredded 154. He's just a massive ball of muscle there. He's just a massive kid. There is a good chance that he can put a hurting on Mayweather if he was to flushly catch him. We can't be ignorant to that fact. And that's actually the only chance I was given Canelo, and that can very well come if, let's say, if he goes into a toe-to-toe battle and Mayweather, for some reason, adding the fact of his age and the fact of his last fight, how long has it been since his last fight, might get a little gassed out. Who knows? I'm not making excuses, but those are things that should be considered. It's not a 50-50 thing by any way, shape, or form. I still see Mayweather outclassing, outlanding, outboxing Canelo. But the chance is there for Canelo.
Absolutely. And you're right. You bring up a good point. I really do think that Canelo and Team Canelo, they were really looking at this like this is the perfect time to fight him. right after another layoff, not knowing if, rusty or not. Like you said, he's a little bit older. But I think that's a little bit deceiving, though, when Floyd doesn't have his legs anymore. I think it's just styles make fights. I mean, you look at somebody like him fighting Marquez. You look at him fighting Victor Ortiz and all of these fighters. I think that if he didn't need his feet. When he fought against Miguel Cotto, you remember in those last couple rounds, that's when he started. I mean, not last couple rounds. I think Cotto won. That's when Cotto started to win. I think 6 and 7 because he won about 2 or 3 rounds. Once Mayweather realized, oh, Cotto's a little bit better than I thought he is. That's when you seen the Mayweather on his feet. And then he went back and he started using his legs again. So his legs are preserved. You know, he just doesn't use them unless he really has to. Because you got to remember, man, Floyd, he has so many plan A's, B's, C's. He could pull them out at any time.
And that's why people that's why people can't stand Floyd. Other than I mean, let's look at something here. Yes, I'm on Floyd's defense to those Floyd haters. Like I said, it's no secret to you guys that he is my favorite fighter other than Gamboa, Rigondeaux, and all that stuff. Actually, to answer some of my subscribers' question that think that my favorite fighters are only Cuban fighters, if you look in my YouTube channel, I very clearly have it written out. My favorite fighter, Floyd Mayweather, then is Gamboa. To answer let me tell you one thing. The reason they hate Mayweather, other than him being flashy and other than him, is a lot of people accuse him of not fighting good opposition, which is not true in any way, shape, or form. Is when you have a guy that's constantly getting in the ring and the guy that is constantly adapting to whatever they throw at him during the fight, eventually becomes frustrating to see that guy keep winning and winning and winning. And the average fan, the fan that doesn't appreciate what a real boxer is, will sit here and criticize that person instead of appreciating all the talent this man's possessing and all this talent that this man's using to give you a good show. Let me put you an example here. If we look at the most successful people in history, they've always been hated on. You got you got Michael Jackson. Let's give you an example. Nobody can top this guy on sales. They had to come up with criticisms. I mean, they will look for a way to destroy you outside of your art. They're looking to destroy Mayweather with their mouth instead of with their fist because they've already realized they can't destroy them inside the ring with those fists. So they got to use that mouth. Mayweather, although we are, honestly, I have to admit that we are pretty close to not seeing Mayweather in the ring anymore. I have to appreciate what this guy has to give me as a boxing fan, because as a boxing fan, I want to see boxing. Knockouts are awesome. I love knockouts. Don't get me wrong. But it's not always that you sit down to see a guy. Okay, you're going to throw a curveball? I'll adapt to it. You're going to throw a changeup? I'll adapt to the changeup. A slider? It's not often you see this type of fighter. So when I do see it, I love it and I appreciate it. And that's what I got to say about Floyd Mayweather. Take it or take it or leave it.
Yeah, I hear you. And just real quick, not to belabor the point, but when it comes to people talking about versus just somebody who can brawl or knock somebody out, I always look at it like this. I want to see you do something that I can't do myself. Show me some special effects. Show me some magic. I mean, anybody can just go to a club or wherever and just, haul off throwing punches. I want to see you do something intelligent that I can't do. Like I always talk about when we talking about rap or something like that. Somebody can't rap that well if they're writing some stuff that that you could write your damn self. I want to see somebody write something that makes me say, wow, that's some sick stuff right there. So I mean, you want to see the technique. You want to see somebody do something that you don't see every day. and people like Floyd Mayweather and Rigo, Gamboa, and fighters like that, they present that. They do things that look like almost impossible. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's how
now,
I see that.
I got a question to ask you, though. Talk to me about that new issue going on between Marquez, Bradley. What do you think about that?
Well, as you already know, Ranger, I done already made a couple videos on that, but now it's new news coming out that Marquez is possibly coming back. If he does come back, they said he might possibly be looking at Jesse Vargas or Sincheco, the guy who just knocked out Ricky Hatton.
Yeah.
Now, what I find amazing about this, of course, the hypocrisy is ridiculous as always. Nacho Beristain, Marquez's trainer, he just said last week, we're not fighting Bradley. No way, shape, fashion, or form are we going to fight Bradley. He called it a stinky fight. He said it would be a boring fight. But now he's contradicting himself by saying we may possibly fight Sincheco, who's way more of a boring fighter than Bradley.
You're damn right.
So, the hypocrisy is ridiculous, and it's real messed up, man, what they doing to Bradley right now. The fact that everyone wants to criticize him as being the Mr. Robber and all of this stuff, but yet almost everybody is ducking him right now. You know?
I'll have to sit here and be honest with you. When he fought Manny Pacquiao, at first I thought, well, they gave it to Bradley. I did not see Bradley win. I'll tell you why. That was when I first seen the fight.
That's understandable.
I thought, well, man, it was pretty close back and forth, and I kind of thought that he didn't do enough in the last few rounds. But then as you look at that fight more detailed, and this is one of the things I have to give Precise Puncher, although he hates my guts, I have to give Precise Puncher the credit on. When he broke down that fight, it literally lit up my eyes. Period.
He did a great job.
Yeah, and this was coming from a Pacquiao fan, because he is a Pacquiao fan. I can see why they're ducking Bradley. Marquez has my respect. I'm going to start off by saying that. Marquez is my second favorite Mexican fighter of all time, starting with, actually my third. My first was Finito Lopez, Salvador Sanchez, now Marquez. But I don't think moves like this contribute to your legacy. You want to where you want to leave that legacy behind of, oh man, he never ducked nobody.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember him ducking anybody. Think about it. When was the last time we seen Marquez ducking anybody? Period. Pacquiao ducked Mayweather. Marquez went in there and fought Mayweather to the best of his ability, but he fought him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Marquez just came out of a very impressive. You remember I called you. That's how shocked I was when I see him knock out this Pacquiao. If there was ever a time for him to retire, it's now.
Yeah.
But for him to come back and start ducking fighters, you're already starting to put, dots in your impressive career. Your impressive career of never ducking anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not happy with the situation. Even if he was to get in there and lose to Bradley, he will forever have my respect. He lost to a very tough, young, top of the line fighter. He didn't lose against a young chump. He lost to a young, tough fighter. So I don't like the fact that they're ducking him, and I don't like the fact that Bradley's not getting his, the respect he deserves either.
I agree with you when it comes to me personally. I think if Marquez is not going to fight somebody like Bradley, which would seem to be the natural next opponent, if he's not going to fight Manny next, it would be better for him just to retire. And I really would urge him not to fight Manny again. I think that would be a bad decision because you don't want. Because first of all, let's be real. Manny Pacquiao almost knocked Marquez out before Marquez knocked him out. And we don't know. We don't know if we're gonna see the Manny who look Roy Jones. We don't know if we're gonna see him look like Roy Jones coming back after being knocked out, or we don't know if he's just gonna be the same Manny. But I wouldn't chance it. I would rather let people remember his legacy with Manny Pacquiao falling, face first to the canvas. You know what I mean? As opposed to taking a chance and getting back in the ring with him, and then he knocks you out, or even beat you in a 12-round decision. Because if it goes 12 rounds, it's most likely people gonna feel sorry for Manny, and they're gonna give it to him. They're gonna be proud of him for even going 12 rounds after being knocked out like that.
Exactly.
So if you're not gonna fight Manny, and you're not gonna fight Bradley, why not just retire? Because it's gonna contradict whatever you say if you fight someone who is not Manny or Bradley. It's going to contradict what you say. Go ahead, man.
And this is one thing a lot of these YouTube viewers don't understand is you can't be a world-class fighter and come back out of retirement to start ducking people and then expect the YouTube fans to give you a lot of credit. And if you're going to duck a good fighter, why not fight another good fighter, which would compensate? Well, he didn't fight this good fighter, but he did fight a really good fighter in this fighter. You know what I mean? So, I'm not too happy with the idea of him ducking Bradley like that. And I have to agree with you.
Other people.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. He gets in there with Manny again. There's a good chance we may not see him beat Manny again. Because Manny had him hurt. Marquez just timed him perfectly, and he used his technique, timed him so perfect, and caught him so flush in the air, where the full impact of that punch was concentrated in that jaw, and that's why he went to sleep. His mama can say it was because he changed religion or whatever, but no, religion ain't had nothing to do with that shot to his jaw.
Not at all.
Period. Another subject I wanted to talk to you about was the war.
Rios Ramos.
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and talk. What do you think about what do you think about that fight? Because remember yesterday, I told you I didn't think he was gonna pull through it, and let me give you the reasons why. The reason I did not think Ramos was gonna win is not because of skills, because he has way more skills than the kid that beat him last night. Ramos, after the Rigondo fight, I seen him in his comeback fight, and he lacked the concentration during the fight, the dedication, that drive in there. I saw him shut down in his comeback fight, and he did want it against a good top opponent. I'll give him that, but I seen Rios, and I kind of pictured that fight, what could happen, and for some reason I had that gut feeling. I was like, I don't think Ramos can pull through this one. But what did you see during the fight? Break it down.
Well, first off, like you said, we talked about it last night, and I thought that Ramos was going to outbox this kid. But first of all, I didn't realize that Rico Ramos was actually moving up in weight, and he was fighting the guy at 126. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I noticed when I watched the fight is this dude looked like he was throwing some bombs. Even though he only had 9 knockouts, or 11 knockouts, something like that. But Rios looked like he was throwing some serious bombs. He had a very good jab that was very, very stiff and straight. And but what I noticed is every time Rico Ramos came in, he looked like he was throwing pity-pat punches. Yeah. He looked like he could do no. Yeah. And I had never seen him look so weak compared to somebody like that. See, but me, I attributed more kind of to. It looked like it was a size difference to me. Like it looked like he just looked real weak when he was throwing his punches, to Rios. Don't get me wrong, Rios looked really good, but Rios did, after about the 5th and 6th round, Rios, he kind of got frustrated. It looked like it was big time, right? It looked like it was difficult for both of them. I mean, both, the styles were difficult for each other. Rios, he moves around a lot. He comes in, he throws a punch with his head down, and you could tell Rios was having a hard time timing him. Rios started getting afraid of the counter punch. The fight was really, really close. One judge he should have been fired or suspended for a long time because he had the fight like 10 rounds to 0 for Rios. And then, the other judges, I think, had it 96-92. I mean, they had it by 2 points. So the fight was really, really close. But, the bottom line is I think that Rios, he couldn't deal with dude's natural power size. I think Ramos, I think he probably needs to go back to 122. But I do agree with you to a certain extent. It is partially psychological.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't think it's more power as far as on this fight. Obviously, the size had a lot to do with it. But I think that what happened during this fight, if you look, I believe it was during the third round, Rios started ripping Ramos to the body because Ramos started really good. I mean, he came in kind of aggressive, boxing really good, moving around. Then Rios, in that third round, started ripping him to the body. Automatically, after you see a fighter get hit with a good 3 or 4 punch combination, and he goes, it had an effect on him. And if we notice after that combination, Ramos came from going slightly uphill to a steady straight road, then down, up, down, up. And that's where Rios took advantage of it. He took advantage of his lack of being first in the attack. And Rios will be first with that jab you was talking about. So I can't sit here and be like, oh, Rios is so much of a better fighter, because it's not true. It's just Rios was the smarter guy that night and was able to take advantage of the situation, period. And that's the credit I'm going to give Rios. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He landed some excellent body punches. I got to be honest, around the 4th, 5th round when he started and Ramos started patting his stomach, I thought it looked almost like it was a possibility that he may end up knocking Ramos out with a body shot. So I feel where you're coming from, man.
Yeah, definitely. It was, but nevertheless, it was a good fight. I mean, both fighters, although they weren't really as aggressive as I would have liked to see them, they still gave us a good show, and that's always appreciated. And for Rios, I think what's next for Rios is Rios needs to get back to the 122. He needs to keep dominating, move up the ladder slowly but surely. I mean,
So was Ronnie Rios? So was Ronnie Rios a natural 122 pounder before this fight? Because I thought he was a 126.
No, I mean, this fight was a 26, but there's no way Ronnie Rios is a 26, man. This kid has to be at least a 130. I mean, you've seen the body frame on that kid.
Yeah.
And you can tell when a big body frame loses so much weight. You can look at those muscles, how they're defined, but they're kind of thin at the same time. So you can tell he's not a natural 26. But nevertheless, I don't want to knock credit away from him. Like I said, Rios, in my opinion, needs to get back to his division, 122. Rios needs to, by all means, you know how some fighters lose to a fighter and then they're like, I need to get a rematch. Rios should not step in there with Rigondeaux anymore for now. But I would love,
no doubt.
Yeah. If he wants to redeem himself, definitely don't look for rematch with Rigondeaux. One fight that he should get again, I would like to see him with the Japanese he took the belt from, because although he got a victory on that fight, he left a stain. They were like, oh, he got lucky with that shot, which it could be, and maybe he just timed him good, but they were having a really good fight. But I feel that if he was to fight this Japanese fighter again and beat him on rounds and then wind up knocking him out, it will start giving him some name backs. Choose his opponents carefully. to where they're not bums, but they're not elite fighters either, and start moving this kid up the ladder slowly but surely again. Because even his trainer said our battle with Ramos is not physical, it's mental. He locks, he shuts down during the fights, and unfortunately, in the world of boxing, your mind is your most powerful opponent. It's your most powerful tool, other than your fist. So that's that for Rios, for Ramos. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think? I'm gonna get in a little subject here that's really irritating me, man. I've been reading a lot of comments. I go around, look at Andre Ward's videos, and for some reason, and I don't want to sound like a hater or anything. A lot of people are like, I ain't sold. I'm not sold with Andre Ward yet. And my question is, and again, this might be a little sensitive to you and to other people, how can you not be sold? But how can you not consider Andre Ward an elite fighter? How can you not be sold by this fighter? But then you are sold blindly. Like you're putting Broner in the top of the list. Broner is good, but I'm sorry. Ward is a much better fighter than Adrian Broner is. I mean, break down. What do you think about Ward? What do you think is the issue with Ward that people are not sold by Ward, when in reality he is a master at the game?
Well, first of all, we have to realize that the people who talk boxing on internets, YouTube, just regular fans, their perception of what they expect or what they like is totally different than people who really know the sport. Like boxers, like even analysts and trainers. Like when you watch ES News, Elliot Setback, and he's interviewing all the different fighters and trainers. What do you think about so and so, so and forth? They always have a different feedback than the majority of people on YouTube. So the reason why I say that is because when it comes to Andre Ward, realistically, he is getting his props, because a lot of people, after his performance against Chad Dawson, a lot of people put him as #1 pound for pound, the best fighter in the world. I mean, realistically, Ranger, I think just like I know, I mean, there are certain fighters that they just don't want to personally be considered the next big thing or the next best #1 pound for pound best fighter in the world. And as far as Adrian Broner, I don't think that people giving Adrian Broner more props than Ward. I just think that he looks more of a big star. Like I said, Floyd, what's his name? Andre Ward is more like Joe Louis, the one who doesn't talk. He doesn't make too much noise. Adrian Broner is more like Muhammad Ali. He makes all the noise. He got a big mouth, and he backs it up like Muhammad Ali would do. So I don't really think that people are praising Broner more than they are Ward, because they shouldn't. Because Ward, the man ain't lost a fight since he was like 11 years old. So Ward is a better fighter, no doubt about it. But Broner is just a star. Sometimes it's a difference between the star and the best fighter in the world. Sometimes it's a difference. Broner may get to that level, but he's not on that level. It's just Broner. Broner may get to the level as Ward, but he's not on that level. It's just he knows how to sell and promote and market himself. That's how I see it.
Oh yeah, selling the show wise, I mean, you can tell he's watched a lot of Floyd's videos. I mean, he can sell the show, and not to mention, naturally, he might be just a funny guy. You know what I mean? But the reason I said that they're giving Broner so much more credit is not nearly because of my own opinion. I mean, I watch Ward's videos a lot, and I watch Broner videos a lot, and I compare the comments. And actually, if you go to like a lot of Ward's videos, you'll see what I just told you. People talking about like, I'm not sold with this guy. I don't think his skills are quite there yet. There was a comment, I'll tell you from where it came from. I believe it was from D Block. he said that he wasn't fully convinced on Adrian Broner's boxing skills, which is, I don't know how can he throw that comment. Maybe he should hang out with his homies, Broner and Floyd, and learn from them. Now, that kind of stuff, maybe that kind of put me on a hold there. And I was like, that's what made me realize, like, how can people be blind to think that there is more boxing skill in Broner than there is in Andre Ward? And then what you just said, actually, that's a point I never thought of. The fact that he is the Joe Louis. He's not trying to sell himself. He's more trying to show he's the best, but away from all the glamorous and the entertainment deal, which is a good, you kind of put a stop to me right there. And I never looked at it from that perspective. But nevertheless, in my opinion, Andre Ward could very well be #1 pound per pound in the world for a long time to come. For a long time.
I believe so. Another thing Broner does have over Ward is competition. I mean, he is in the best divisions. 135 all the way up to 147. He's got all type of opponents. Another problem with Ward, what I fear is, he may not get, enough opponents. He may have to wait for them young up-and-comers to come up, which could take about a year to two. Some new guy at 168 building himself right now to possibly be a challenge. Or Sergio Martinez, if Sergio Martinez moves up, which, that ain't going to happen. I know that's, and Sergio, he walks around at 175. Yeah. So I don't even understand why it can't at least even be a catch weight. I mean, of course, that fight right there, if Sergio Martinez were to get in the ring, of course, we know what would happen. And that would really, push Ward up even higher on that pound for pound list. I'm going
to tell you what you told me. You wanting Martinez versus Ward, it's like too good. It's like me wanting Vargas versus what's his kid name? Russell Jr. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean Magdaleno versus Russell Jr. It's kind of too good to be true.
Yeah, it ain't gonna happen.
It is what it is,
Well, and that's why I never made a video, because I'm not trying to say Martinez is ducking Ward, because like I told people that I sent messages to, I'm not gonna accuse you of ducking somebody who's not even fighting in your division, But I'm just saying it would be nice if Martinez just said, "Let me test my luck." But Martinez is an intelligent fighter, and Martinez, he knows the type of skill that Ward has. And then on top of it, you giving a person who has that kind of skill a natural size advantage on top of you. So, yeah, Martinez knows. He knows that's not a good bet. And I just don't like the double standards, though, how people will consider Floyd Mayweather ducking a middleweight who's 2 divisions bigger than he is, right?
Yeah.
But then nobody wants to bring up Martinez moving up just 8 pounds to fight Ward, or even 4 pounds at a catch weight. I don't like the hypocrisy of it.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm so glad you brought that up, because when you think about it, it goes back to what I told you. People always going to hate the most successful guy, and they're going to look for ways to destroy him. Destroy his image, destroy him mentally. You just brought a really good point. Here is a guy who is 2 divisions way bigger than Floyd. And people are accusing Floyd of ducking Martinez, but for some reason they avoid the obvious, which is Martinez versus Ward, which would make a lot more sense.
But nobody talks about it.
No, because Floyd's not involved in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The hate towards Floyd, it ain't the same as towards Martinez or and that's why at the beginning of the video I said the most hated man in boxing. Because let's be real, it is. That's the truth. I don't think there's another fighter that has more haters than Floyd does. Period.
No doubt. No doubt.
So,
But actually,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm just about to say, but actions speak louder than words, and no matter how much you hate him, if he keeps winning, you won't be able to deny him. And just real quick, I was saying to somebody earlier that if Floyd does get Canelo, first of all, which like I said, it may not happen, but if Canelo fights Trout, if he were to be lucky enough to beat Trout, which that just makes Floyd look even better if he beats Canelo, if he puts that on his resume, a young ass lion, which is a very good part of showing your greatness. You first fight the guy from the older area who has more experience than you. Then you fight the cats who are in the same era as you, right? Young cats who are in the new era. So if he could beat somebody like Canelo, and put that on his resume, it would be very hard for even the haters to deny this man's greatness. And I will admit, and I tell people, Floyd, he has ducked a couple fighters. But you have to look at if the accomplishments versus who you ducked. And that's what it comes down to.
Wait a minute, I got one question. Name me one fighter. If you can name me one fighter that has never in his life ducked a fighter at one point or another, he might have not ducked him in his first 25 fights, but when the show got bigger and the opponents got tougher, name me one fighter in history that has not avoided fighting another fighter. There's
Absolutely.
Not one. Not one.
Yeah,
Let me give you a great example. Edwin Valero. Remember that fighter?
Yeah.
25 fights, 25 knockouts, 0 loss, 19 of the knockouts in the first round. You couldn't pay Manny Pacquiao $50 million to step in there with him. No.
That.
You couldn't pay Pacquiao $100 million to step in there with him. You couldn't pay Marquez. This fighter was challenging the best of the best, okay?
Yeah.
But what do they use? We can't let him fight in America because he has a tattoo of Chavez in his chest. That was the excuse.
Wow, did they use that excuse?
Yeah, because of the communism and blah, blah, blah. Now, you might say, well, Valero never ducked nobody. He was actually calling the big names out. But in reality, Valero, let's be honest, he never got to the major leagues in the sport of boxing. Who knows what could have happened when he entered the major league of boxing? You know what I mean?
So, Ranger, but after... Go ahead.
So we don't really know for sure if he was ever going to duck a fighter. And let's be honest, I don't even know if he's ever ducked a fighter or not.
Well, Ranger, he did duck. He did duck some fighters. And that's what I was about to say. He had ducked Tim Bradley. He ducked Tim Bradley. When they asked him about Tim Bradley, he said, I'm not fighting him. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but he made it very obvious. It was another fighter too. I don't know if it was Lamont Peterson. It was another fighter. But yeah, he ducked fighters. And that's what I'm saying. Everybody has ducked someone. You go all the way back to Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was ducking fighters. Like I said, it comes down to, does your accomplishments outweigh, those people you were accused of ducking? That's what it comes down to. Canelo's situation, he puts himself in a really, really tough situation because he's ducked fighters all the way to 43 fights. And if he were to lose, soon as he steps up in competition, kind of like what happened to Chavez Jr., now you really mess up your reputation.
I got so much hate for that boy, you got no idea. And then it happened, man. It's like I felt great, man. But yeah, you are right, man. If he was to lose the very first time he steps up, it would cause a lot of shock. Well, not to the real boxing fan, A real boxing fan, a person that knows boxing, wouldn't be shocked. That person would be like, well, I told y'all so. But the blind fan would be like, I can't believe this.
It was like you said, it would be just like the Chavez. It would be just like that situation, exactly like that. It's one of those we told you guys.
What's out there? I mean, what's on your mind right now? Is there anything you would like to bring up before we call it quits here? Whatever, it don't
No,
matter.
yeah, well, I did want to say a couple things about the I guess the Zab Judah Garcia fight. I'm really looking forward to that fight. I did a video on it, and I was just watching the other night. I was just watching what's his name, Judah versus Matisse, right? I was watching that fight, and it's a trip because when we first watched that fight, I know me personally, I was like, man, Zab didn't look too good in this fight, right? In hindsight, and I'm thinking now it was because we didn't know who Matisse was. He was supposed to just run over Matisse. They were talking about him. He's supposed to knock this dude out within at least the middle rounds, right? But now when you look at who Matisse is today, and you go back and you watch that fight, Zab actually looked really good in that fight. Even when he got knocked down, he was still fighting toe-to-toe. He wasn't running. He wasn't just tying up. He was still fighting toe-to-toe. So in hindsight, he looked pretty good. And I just bring that up because I think he has a very good chance against Garcia. But I am leaning towards Garcia to win the fight. But I just bring that up because I'm thinking about that fight. And like I said, it's just amazing how it's amazing how you look back in hindsight and you don't know the fight at the time. But now, when you look at that fight, you can really give Zab Judah credit for that kind of fight.
You have to give Zab Judah credit for that kind of fight, especially when he's fighting a fighter that can put you to sleep with a good punch. On top of that, the age factor. On top of that, the way their career has taken place. Let me tell you one thing about Zab. I am, and I'm kind of not leaning for Garcia to win. Obviously, I have to give Garcia more chances, being the younger, most powerful puncher, blah, 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 blah. However, I can clearly see Zab Judah sitting down, watching a tape of Khan versus Garcia, and seeing how Khan was easily outboxing Garcia, and seeing how he does not need to make the same mistake Khan was making, which is to go toe-to-toe. And I can clearly see Zab Judah digging in and pulling some tricks out of his bag without putting himself in harm's way. And let me tell you one thing, my man. I would love to give Zab a chance. He does has a chance now that I didn't think so when I was recording my prediction video, but then as I sit down and sometimes I don't know if it's because I love the sport so much, but it's like I could be working and during work I can be like, but Zab needs to do this, or I can be thinking of whatever fight. I've been thinking about Zab lately, and he has the skills to win this fight even at his age.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? I accuse him of being a 6-round fighter. He has shown to be sometimes a 6-round fighter, but then again, he fought a great fight against Matisse, full fight. I just have to give him more credit than people is giving Zab. I mean, obviously, Zab's fighting two fighters here. He's fighting the mental war with Senior, right? And he's fighting the physical war with Junior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's got a tough one ahead of him.
Yeah, I think the majority of us believe that Zab Judah is a much better fighter than Garcia, but it really comes down to, can Zab Judah, go a whole 12 solid rounds psychologically without breaking down, and that's what it really comes down to. So but that's just a fight that I'm really looking forward to, and not to mention as well, just real quick about Matisse, he also made Matisse move away from him in the fight. Matisse was trying to box Zab Judah, and that's why I found that really interesting.
Definitely. Well, listen, man, we're going on 50 minutes here, but it's always great talking to you because it's always great talking to people that appreciate and know boxing, period, because we get these type of conversations to where time just flies by. It don't even feel like we've been talking for 50 minutes, almost an hour. So you obviously know that you're always welcome to my channel. And hopefully people understand that we're not hating here. We're pretty much sharing our thoughts in our video about the sport we love. And hopefully, you, the viewers, can drop comments and expect more videos from me and Dontae, because they're coming. If you want to check his channel out, youtube.com/Dontae562. Subscribe to him. You're going to enjoy his videos. And also subscribe to me if you like me for some reason, my videos or whatever. Thanks for coming into my channel, brother. And we'll see the next time what we can come up with.
Thanks for having me, man. And I'll catch up with you, man.